welcome to our special show, Let's Talk Infertility. I'm Priyanshi Sharma. Did you know that infertility affects approximately 15% of Indian couples? Yet, it is seldom talked about because of the stigma associated with it. Due to a lack of awareness of what causes infertility, thousands suffer silently and do not seek help. For infertility to be treated, we have to understand how prevalent it is, why it occurs, and what we can do to resolve it. And that is exactly what we aim to do through this campaign, Let's Talk Infertility. Over the next few weeks, we hope to create awareness around a widespread issue, clear some of the myths associated with infertility, and answer your questions about how to treat it. You can visit our website, ndtv.com/Let's Talk Infertility for more information, but also to ask your questions and concerns about IVF treatment. The questions you leave on our website will be answered by specialists from Art Fertility Clinics. Joining us today are Dr. Richa Jagtap, Co-Medical Director at Art Fertility Clinics India. We also have Dr. Dakshayani Ravikumar from Art Fertility Clinics Chennai. Dr. Neena Malhotra also joining us, who's a professor at the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at AIIMS. We also have Prashant Sinha, the co-founder and COO at Moms Presso. And we also have Rinku Shah, the founder at Fitness to Flash. Thanks very much to all of you for joining us. My first question to you, Dr. Richa Jagtap. What causes infertility and what is the size and scale of this condition in India? And is this a women-only problem?
Priyanshi, thank you so much for this question and such an important topic that we have. Like you said, it's 15% of the population, but probably we fail to realize it means 1 in 6. We are 6 of us here on this show, and probably one of us could have had some issues with subfertility. That's how close it is to us. And we do talk about India being a country with the largest population. When we have the largest population, by definition, it means we also have a subgroup of infertile people who are also in the largest amount in our country. So this is the issue which is facing us. And when we say infertility, it does not only mean women. It will encompass both of the couple, the men and the women. And that's why it's important that we tackle it head on. We look at it holistically and we try to address all the issues that can happen. But we will talk about it only when we know that we have a safe space to open up, to address our concerns, and to find the right and the scientific answers from an empathetic doctor.
Right, of course, that's something that all of us should know. And Dr. Ravikumar, if I can come to you with my next question. As I understand it, reproductive medicine is a very young science. What role does research play in this evolution? And is enough happening across the world and in India as well?
Yes, there is lots of research going ahead. In Art Fertility Clinics, we are prolific in publishing many research works we are doing within the center, where our clinicians, embryologists, and the geneticists are involved. We have about almost, we are actually publishing it in best international journals of the human, in the field of human reproduction, like human fertility, sterility, such journals. And it has been like in our centers within a brief time of its organization of Art Fertility Clinics across the globe and in India, we have about 72 research papers and articles published in journals like Fertility and Sterility. And these are being peer reviewed by the senior most fertility specialists across the globe, and they have endorsed the work done by the clinicians, researchers, embryologists, and the geneticists in India in our Art Fertility Clinics.
Right. And adding on to that, Prashant Sinha, you are from India's largest parenting platform and content platform for women, and you engage with women in multiple Indian languages. How openly do women really talk about their infertility issues? And this is just for us to understand how common the problem really is.
So, by running the largest platform in the country of women, so there are 25 million women on the platform, what we've seen is the awareness level of infertility has gone up in the last few years, thanks to all the fertility centers talking about it openly. So it's gone up. But we are, just to give you a sense, we are only 10% English platform and 90% language platform. What has come through, we see, is while the infertility understanding is high, the quality is not understood well. That means when people are talking, they don't know how expensive is it, or how lengthy the process is, how complicated would it be. Okay, so there are people who are asking questions to each other, and then there are brands and experts who are coming and answering. Though the process is not very well understood, infertility issues are understood now.
Right. And while we talk about the people's awareness, let's just take a look at what are the barriers to understanding and treating the infertility issue. It is a common problem, yet there's not enough information, not enough conversation, and certainly not enough awareness. Take a look.
Do you know what IVF stands for?
When the woman is not able to conceive the child, they undergo such processes, medical processes, where I guess there are many ways to conceive.
The baby is not fertilized inside the body of the female, rather the egg and the sperm is collected and it's been fertilized inside a artificial lab.
It's like if you can't conceive, there's a process where you can, there's a sperm thing that...
Babies are being they're being fertilized out of the woman's body.
Getting a child outside by using ways of test tube babies, for example.
If कि अगर जो मेल और फीमेल अगर वो नहीं कर पा रहे हैं बेबी इन नेचुरल वेज, तो उनके पास एक जरिया है करने के लिए वो IVF.
It's the test tube babies. I just know about that.
Is there a difference between IVF and surrogacy?
I don't know about it.
No, not really.
I have no idea.
Surrogacy is when both of the parents give their genes, right? But in IVF, if the male is infertile, they can have a sperm donor.
You are taking a worm outside the natural mother.
Is infertility only a woman's issue?
In India, of course, everybody blames the women.
The stereotypical way in which we look at infertility is that it's the woman's problem.
I would believe a male issue, ma'am. Okay. Yes, because I've never heard, not mostly heard, female being infertile.
So you heard that. Now if I come to Mr. Prashant Sinha on that, how much do women understand their infertility issues? For that matter, what is the level of awareness that you have seen in dealing with both women and men? For example, are fertility issues often confused with surrogacy?
So I think surrogacy is still a distant piece where people think it's still for affluent and very few people understand. The largest issue that we see on a platform is there is around infertility. While the incidence of infertility is 50% with males as well, the women are to be blamed, and that's where the biggest issue lies. So I think one of the big platforms like us, what we drive is giving her care and assurance that that other people have already gone through this journey, and then there are huge amount of success rates out there, so you can possibly go and try. Amongst the males, they are only responsible to arrange for the finances and possibly you be more rational than being emotional around it. So the support that they can give to the wives is all about, being there around.
Right. And on that note, Dr. Malhotra, you also deal with many kinds of patients. In your experience, what stops infertile couples from seeking treatment? What are the barriers really?
Thank you very much for having me here. I think as Dr. Richard pointed out, it's a couple problem. It's not a problem. And Prashant also said it's not a female problem. But certainly, I think I would put them as social factors. There's economic factors. That's more. And of course, again, there are personal issues which again relates to socioeconomic. So socially, yes, as it's still considered as a taboo and it's considered a female problem. So perhaps that's one reason why they delay. Of course, those are factors where women in the present day, I'm talking of metros, I'm not talking of the small B or C towns or the tier 2, tier 3 or maybe the villages. But women and men are too much focused on their career. And therefore, we are realizing, is it subfertility, which is, self-driven by the motivation to reach up and scale their, opportunities and jobs, which is, I think, a real impediment for them to come earlier than they actually reach us.
Right, so several factors that can turn out to be barriers actually. And Rinku Shah, you're a health and fitness coach. Your community, Fitness to Flash, helps women be confident and live a healthy lifestyle. Now, you also have conversations about fertility. In your experience, how open are women to talking about fertility and infertility? And how do we bring this confidence in them?
What I've realized over 6 years of building this community, earlier people were not aware, or it was, as everyone mentioned, it is like a taboo of even coming open saying that, you know, I have this issue, but now things are changing. One, it is changing because it's a private and safe place. So it's not like still publicly people are going to, and I'm here talking mainly about women because that's what my community is. It's only for women and where they talk about. So to break the taboo, we are encouraging them more and more, sharing our successes, sharing our failures, or sharing that empathy towards them that, you know, they can come and talk. Because sometimes what happens, it can, like this whole treatment can bog them down. They feel alone. They don't know where to seek help. Usually, as social norms are, maybe not very comfortable to talk with their partners or family friends. And then they come and be part of this community. So what we have seen is the more we encourage, the more people are coming together.
Right, of course, that's important if we want to create more awareness around this issue. And Dr. Richa Jagtap, if infertility is such an issue in India, how should fertility clinics be responding to this issue? What's your opinion on that?
So Priyanshi, I believe that we are always scared of what we do not know. So the first step, of course, is creating awareness so that people know that one, they are not alone in this. Two, these kind of problems exist. Three, that they can overcome it. So that is the first thing, awareness through these programs like this, through multiple platforms, that we make people realize that infertility is existing between us. Second is that we try to individualize their treatment, see what is right for them, what is the right options for them, how they can tackle it, what is their body's problem, and then overcome those problems. Third is, we always worry about IVF being fraught with risk and consequences. So we are trying to have a good amalgamation of science and nature. What we are trying is making sure that IVF takes the risk out and gives back the success that the patients are coming to us for, which means like we transfer now embryos in natural cycle so that the patients can avoid too much of medication, so that they are not worried about taking a lot of medication throughout their life. And it's known that when they take a lot of medication during the pregnancy, they can have hypertension, they can have other issues. Making natural cycle a way of norm, it is going to be really helpful for them. So holistically approaching it from all the sides is how we will be able to improve these things.
Right, of course, a holistic approach is really necessary in this issue. And Dr. Ravi Kumar, as we've talked about this, that there's also a gender bias in understanding fertility issues. Tell us what male infertility is about and what is its instance, and how does India compare with the rest of the world on this?
Yeah, infertility is always thought to be a female issue, especially so in India. Although in the cities there is a little bit of understanding that both can be the reason, but what we see in our clinics and in the society is, I feel, the tip of the iceberg. There is so much of infertility patients down there in our population across the globe who are not able to reach clinics. Maybe in India it is the cost which is also stopping them from coming. In male infertility, whatever patients we are seeing here, about 40 to 50% of them are male infertility patients also. Some of them coming with erectile dysfunctions, some of them sort of into what we call as impotent also sometimes. And many of them are having sperm factors being abnormal. Like it could be the count, it could be the motility of the sperm, it could be the morphology of the sperm, which is all very important for a healthy embryo to be formed.
Right. So while we've talked about the issue and the awareness part as well, let's now talk about solutions. Dr. Richa Jagtap, let's start by understanding what ART is, and within that, what is IVF? Is IVF the only treatment for infertility?
So if I break open that short term ART, it is assisted reproductive technologies, ART. which means we are trying them to have reproduction, to conceive, but we are helping them, assisting them. When we talk about ART, it's always thought that we are talking about IVF, but it's not so. Like Dr. Dakshayani mentioned, that assisted reproduction could be a simple thing like doing an intrauterine insemination, where the sperm motility is low and we take the sperm sample, concentrate it, wash it and put it back in the uterus, and rest of the things happen naturally in the body. It could be IVF, where its full form is in vitro fertilization, where we take the eggs and we fertilize them with the sperms from the husband and let the embryos grow in a culture system and then transfer them in the womb. For patients who have a very severe male factor, which means, as Dr. Dakshayani mentioned, the sperm count is very low, we can use ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injection, in which we select the best sperms and inject them in the best eggs to let them fertilize, form an embryo in the culture system, and then we can put this embryo back in the uterus. This is whole array of or armamentarium of treatments that we have, which is what we call as assisted reproductive technologies with us.
Right, of course, that's very important to point out. And if I can come to you, Dr. Neena Malhotra, now, we will talk about IVF treatments and how they work in greater detail in our next shows as well. But could you clear another common confusion for us? What is the difference between IVF treatment, IVF surrogacy and adoption?
So essentially, as the layperson call it a test tube baby, when we do an IVF, we may do just, culturing that egg around with the normal sperms or injecting the egg with a sperm. We essentially creating an embryo in the lab, and that embryo, which is a good quality tested by the way we look at it, or we have some techniques like embryoscope or do whatever, things, we put the idle embryo back into the lady's womb, i.e. she is the one who has the egg. With her partner or husband, she creates the embryo, and this embryo goes back to her womb. Now, that is what is called the conventional way. Now, when we talk of surrogacy, it is a gestational surrogate, i.e. the embryos which are created from the genetic parents is the female and the husband create and give their eggs, and then that is what creates an embryo. But that is being put into somebody else's womb. That is what essentially means a surrogate or a surrogacy, which by the law would only be indicated if the woman who is a potential or is the biological mother does not or is deprived because of any reasons which could be depriving the womb to carry this pregnancy forward. Right. And there are very many medical indications. So that is surrogacy. And by the law, surrogacy has got many, ifs and buts. The surrogacy law is in place. And essentially, that's what we have to understand, rather than somebody who reads a celebrity, baby coming, and that's a surrogate. And that's absolutely no for all of us who are from the science and the medical fraternity. So that is what is essential. And surrogacy does not connote to IVF. That's something that's important. Coming to adoption, yes, there are some situations where we think we cannot offer the couple an IVF because there could be medical reasons, there could be financial reasons, and they are not fit, i.e. because they feel that they would by choice not like to take a donor egg because she's age advanced, or they would not like to take a donor sperm because of the reasons that are better understood socially,
right?
Or for all the factors. In those cases, they adopt a child. And I think, again, by the law, legally, we know what the adoption rules are and what are the ifs and buts there as well. So this is a bit that needs clarity.
Right, so those distinctions are, of course, important to note. And Rinku Shah, if I can come to you now, we leave the last word with you. This is an awareness campaign. You're a trained fitness and nutrition guide, and you talk about balancing one's body, hormones, and fertility through fitness. If you could tell us how fitness plays a role in a woman's fertility, and what message would you leave with all the women watching us today who may have fertility issues?
Yeah, one thing to associate, people say that, when you work out more, or when you are putting a lot of stress in your body, the IVF don't work, or, you get into the infertility zone. So one message is that is a myth. The only thing we say, and the reason we tell them that, maintain a healthy lifestyle. When we say healthy lifestyle, I'm not saying like you go into extreme of any kind of fitness or a diet. We are mainly saying that, you are stress. You have the real hormones which are working for you and which needs to work for you when you are even undergoing a treatment. And that's what I have been through my own IVF, so I know it, and that's what I usually tell to my community as well. That stress is one. Second is balancing your get that oxytocin coming in, and making sure that the hormones are working for you. And third is have that kind of community support wherever you can find support, because that is super, super important. And we always say it's not about the weight, it's always about the health. So don't go extreme or drastic on losing your weight just because you want to undergo a treatment. I know it is associated, but whatever you do with a positive mindset is going to really, really work for you.
With that, it's a wrap on the show. Thanks very much to all our guests for joining us. And as we said earlier, over the next few weeks, we will be answering all your questions about infertility, what causes it, how to treat it, and much more through our shows and through our website. You can visit our website, ndtv.com/Let's Talk Infertility for more information and to leave us your questions, which will be answered by specialists from Art Fertility Clinics over our next few shows. To end the show, let's hear from couples for whom IVF has worked as a solution.
Dr. Dakshayani was the one who did my fertility treatment, and she was the one who delivered my twin baby boys also. She also took care of my delivery and bringing up my kids and all that. So that is besides the issue. The thing about fertility is that Dr. Dakshayani is one person who was very, very thorough in explaining what exactly the concept is.
IVF and all, I am not aware of this IVF and all. But later on, when explaining by Dr. Dakshan, it's very, very comfortable for me and for my wife also to proceed. And I would like to convey my sincere thanks to Dr. Dakshan. She's one of the best doctor I can say